This is Gridiron Gore, where football collides with fear.
Welcome back to Gridiron Gore, the podcast where the play clock runs out, and so do the characters in your favorite horror flicks.
That's right, football meets Fright Night. I'm Davon, your resident football junkie. Still waiting on the Steelers to scare someone this preseason and hopefully the postseason.
And I'm Paige, your scream queen, here to remind you that a red zone is basically just a final girl chase scene in cleats. And this is Gridiron Gore. Tonight's episode, we're diving into the NFL's most divisive players, coaches, and battles. People you either love to death or wish would disappear into the shadows.
Then we're flipping the projector reel to talk about one of horror's most complicated villains, Jigsaw himself, and why he might just be the NFL coach of the horror universe.
And of course, we'll wrap things up with our recurring nightmare, fantasy football, who's worth drafting, who's cursed, and which polarizing players could carry or completely bury your season.
All right, strap in. This one's going to feel like Saw meets the Super Bowl.
Wait, before we get started, I first want to acknowledge the latest update. We're finally on video.
Dun, 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 dun.
And in spirit of tonight's episode, I am wearing The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is probably one of the most divisive horror Christmas movies out.
And I'm wearing a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey of one of the more polarizing players in NFL history, Antonio Brown.
All right, let's get to it.
All right. Nothing divides NFL fans more than quarterback controversies. And this year, the quarterback rooms feel like the cast of a slasher movie. You're not sure who's surviving until the final act.
So we're going to start with the juiciest battles. Shedeur versus Dillon, Russell versus Dart, and Anthony Richardson versus Daniel Jones. All quarterback battles.
All right. Shedeur's got the spotlight and swagger, but Gabriel's that sneaky final act survivor.
Russell and Dart, it's Halloween. The reboot old guy versus the new blood.
And Richardson versus Jones, boom or bust athletes versus mid-tier survivor. One's Frankenstein, the other Scooby-Doo.
But the polarizing list goes deeper. We have vets who've been polarizing their whole career, a la Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston, and even my boy, Sam Darnold.
And of course, some historical figures like John Gruden, Coach Tomlin, names that gets fans screaming like they're in a theater.
All right, so let's get into it. So starting off with Shedeur v. Dillon. And I think this is kind of interesting because this week the Browns have named Joe Flacco as their number one starter. So what are your thoughts on not only the battle between them, how it's divided the media, the fans, but also while they're battling, we still have old Joe, 39-year-old Joe, that's going to be the starter.
Gotcha. All right, so where I'm going to start with the Shedeur versus Dillon Gabriel aspect of that question first. Given that we've seen 2 preseason games so far, we've seen one where Shedeur started.
Just hyped to talk about Jameis.
That's important. We have the first game where we had Shedeur start and have a very successful showing in his first game, and then week 2, Shedeur doesn't play and Dillon Gabriel plays. So we were able to see both of those 2 rookies play with, I guess you consider the first unit, although it's not the first unit. They play with the ones that will possibly have a chance on the team because they're the ones starting off with the reps, right? Given what we've seen so far from Shedeur, I think I still would rank him over Dillon. So
I was gonna ask you that. So can I read you some stats?
Yes.
And you tell me who really had the better game.
Yes.
So Shedeur started in preseason week 1 against the Panthers. He was 14 of 23 for 138 passing yards. His completion rate was 60%. He had 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and played up until the fourth quarter. Gabriel or Dillon, I guess I should call him by his first name. He played in last week's game against the Eagles. Many would say a better defense, even though I think Eagles fans, we weren't too thrilled about their performance last Saturday. But nonetheless, in that game, Dillon was 13 of 18 for 143 passing yards and a completion rate of 72.2%. But he did have one interception and no touchdowns. So given the stat line and the defenses they were playing against, who really won the battle so far?
I think I'm still gonna say Shedeur. You can only play what you're up against, and I know from the standpoint of Shedeur in the first week, I believe the Panthers still had. They might not have had a lot of starters out there, but they did have some starters available to play in that game. So it's not like Shedeur didn't get any potential looks from people that would be actually playing out there in the NFL season. He did have those particular competitors playing against them. But on the other side, I think Dillon Gabriel played against more people, and again, he played
tougher defense.
A different defense. The reigning Super Bowl MVP, the Super Bowl champions. I know, like the exciting whites weren't playing. Zach Bond wasn't playing. Of course, Jalen Carter and them weren't playing. But there were a ton of people that contributed in that run last year for the Eagles that was out there. There were a ton of potential corners that will be playing in a third nickel role, fourth string cornerback role. So again, there were a ton of people on that Eagles defense. Granted, from what I remember seeing with that interception, it wasn't a good interception. It was a bad throw that,
Are there such things as good interceptions?
There is such thing called as a good interception. It's an interception that shouldn't have happened. So like a tip pass, that's a good interception. Like it happened, but it's not technically all on the quarterback's fault versus throwing it because you didn't look off of the defender and you didn't put the ball in the good placement for the receiver to even get a chance to fight for it. So that's what I would say about that.
So all in all, you're still picking Shedeur as winning the battle on the field so far?
I would say yes. I do have Shedeur winning it. Again, I hate that we have to pit these two or put these two against each other because they both had great college careers.
But didn't the NFL kind of pretty much pit them and force fans to pit them against each other? Because we went all college season, football season, and post leading up to the draft about Shedeur being first round, Shedeur being a top 5 pick. All the hype around Shedeur, Travis, Abdul Carter, Cam Ward.
But the thing is, the Browns, once they made the decision to get Dillon Gabriel, they did not have to get Shedeur. They made this more of a storyline around their organization than it had to be. If they felt so confident with Dillon Gabriel, they could have just kept it at Dillon Gabriel had him, Joe Flacco, and Kenny Pickett as their quarterbacks, with Deshaun Watson still on IR. They chose this because one.
So that's what I'm saying. So then the NFL kind of put us in a position to pit these two people against each other.
The Cleveland Browns did. They NFL. But yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, they did put us in a situation for us to have to kind of show more love to one person than the other when. Granted, both of them could possibly be starting on other teams. Example, the Saints. I think both Gabriel or Shedeur I think they might have been named the starting quarterback over there if they got drafted there.
Which the Saints still do not have a named Week 1 starter in that battle. Okay, so we have Shedeur winning on the field. What about off the field? So after was that Saturday's game, in the post-game interview, Dillon's going back and forth with the media, and he makes the comment after the question. I can't remember what the question was, but he said there are entertainers and there are competitors, and I totally understand that. My job is to compete, and that's what I'm doing. It's something that I'll get used to, and I just want to be the best teammate that I can and create an environment where we can all get our best work in. And so at first, and I was definitely one of those people at first, that was definitely a shot at Shedeur because he obviously garners much more media attention and storylines around him. His dad has such a big character. The whole family is full of characters. And so I, as well as many others, took that shot as he was talking about Shedeur being the entertainer. But then he later clarified that this was the media he's classifying as entertainers and he is a competitor. So he's been catching a lot of flack over his lack of media training. So overall, as we are still picking sides between Shedeur and Dillon, who is the better face of the franchise when that time comes?
Well, I think the Browns kind of already identified who they think is that for your answer, and that's Shedeur. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but like on the Cleveland Browns, like official team page, like for merchandise, Shedeur's on the front page of that, or the landing page of that, like the Cleveland Brown shop. So I feel as though they think from a media aspect, and again, I think this is why they also drafted him, although they already selected a quarterback in the draft, because you don't really see often where two quarterbacks are picked up in the same draft. Like,
Yeah.
only other time I can really think of is when RG3 got drafted, and then they drafted Kirk Cousins as well.
Cousin Kirk.
But yeah, I think all signs point toward Shedeur from all aspects, playing wise, entertainment wise, the media wise. Like I don't think what Shedeur has done. Granted, the situation he was put in, being put in last depth chart spot, you haven't heard him be like a locker room cancer or try to bring anyone else down. He's just out there playing with the opportunities given. So again, I think he's more media trained because he's been around the media more in some aspects. But yeah, I'd go with Shedeur that one.
Okay. Well. Last question, because we have so many other players to talk about. I don't even know if it's appropriate to say clearly, as I was going to, but Shedeur is a fan favorite for a population of NFL fans. Mm-hmm. And those of us that are Shedeur fans, we feel like that's our brother, our cousin, our son, and there is this deep emotional attachment to him and his success. And a part of that is almost rooting for the downfall of Dillon Gabriel, who is kind of the innocent bystander in the Shedeur drama with the NFL. Do you think Dillon is deserving of the root of the downfall for him? Of him?
Of the root of the downfall of Shedeur?
Dillon.
Of himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of Shedeur fans that are hoping he fails so Shedeur can get propped up.
Yeah, I feel bad for Dillon, like I mentioned earlier, because he is a good quarterback. Just going back to like his college days, he did transfer a few. I know he started off at Central Florida, then he transferred to Oklahoma, then he got his last run at Oregon, which he took them to the playoffs. So he is a good quarterback. He's competed in damn near every conference in college because, well, Oklahoma wasn't SEC, and I think they were still Big 10 or Big 12, but he played against some of the best competition in college, but at the same time, he also played with some of the better college athletes as well, especially when he went to Oregon. I just think, they're going to have to let one of these players go. I don't think the Browns will be doing anyone any favors, although they're not in the business of doing that, but I don't think they do them any justice of keeping both, knowing that you can't play both. So I think, for Dillon Gabriel's side, he's not going to have a lot of fans from a certain population, like you mentioned, because watching Shedeur, or I guess you could say watching Deion making that move to Jackson State, where Shedeur was his quarterback, that got a lot of people into watching college football. Mm-hmm. And then you start following them as they went to Colorado, turned that program around to a team that didn't win many games the year prior to,
and brought a lot of money to that
doubling
university.
For a lot of money to that university, brought a lot of top recruits to that university. Yep. So, again, I'm Team Shedeur. Team Shedeur over here.
All right, so I guess it's still out. We're still divisive between Dillon and Shedeur. Okay, the next battle, and honestly, I feel like these two are not getting enough attention, and I think we're too busy giving Dallas attention, the Browns attention, but not enough focus is being put on Russell Wilson and Jaxson Dart. So Jaxson Dart was obviously drafted first round by the Giants, but he is fighting for number 2 on the depth chart right now. But commentators saying he's playing pretty well in these preseason games. And Russell has been labeled, either media or the NFL has been trying to label him a bad guy since he left the Seahawks and his time with the Broncos, which was not so hot. And folks were rooting on his downfall once he came to the Steelers. So I just talked a lot and didn't ask a single question. So my question is, I guess I'll start more broadly. What are your thoughts on these two right now?
On those two, so I think the Giants are doing it the proper way. I mean, the same with the Browns, where they're starting the vet to start the season, and you really let that dictate if you want to go to your rookies from there. I think what we've seen in the past a lot is that teams try to rush rookie quarterbacks out there, and
the Colts.
So the Colts, you have 49ers with Trey Lance, you have Bryce Young, who didn't have a so hot first year. It happens a lot, and I think what they don't understand, I think Nick Saban might have said something about this, is that they don't continue to teach like the players. They just expect them to go in there and just be able to do it. And you have to. You still have to learn. Although they went to big college, Jaxson Dart went to Ole Miss, Shedeur went to Colorado, Dillon Gabriel went to Oregon. Those are big universities, but at the same time, the NFL, you're going to be seeing great talent every week. You might get away with a week in college. You might get away a week with not having to face a great defensive coach that can scheme you up to where you're like Sam Darnold and you're seeing ghosts on the field. So
be easy on my boy.
I think, this is the proper approach in both cases. Obviously, we know Jaxson Dart, this will ultimately be his team. I think in this case, as well as the Browns case, they're going to let the vets play themselves out of that starting role, right? So, like, if the team starts off like 1-4, I think from the Giants' perspective, me personally, I would go Jameis first before I go to Jaxson Dart, because I don't necessarily see the need to rush him into starting.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what their schedule is, so like
I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
Because their schedule is kind of rough too. Not as bad as the Browns. But for the Giants, week 1, they're at Washington. Week 2, they're at Dallas. Week 3, Kansas City. Week 4, Chargers.
All teams with good pass rush and good secondaries. Yeah.
And then maybe the beginning of October for week 5 against the Saints would be. Is that the first time for a rookie to start?
I would say so.
That soft landing.
From that. So let's say if they are, how many games before the Saints was that, 4 or 5?
4. They played Saints week 5.
So let's say they start 0-4. Even at that point, I still don't think you start him yet. Again, because then you start him, he has a bad 6-game stretch. You benching him is going to kill his morale. That's what happened to Zach Wilson on the Jets.
Yes,
They started him a little too early too. Part
of that wasn't his fault.
It wasn't. Organization, they don't have a good plan in place to help these players learn and grow. Like, let's take, for example, some successful quarterbacks out there, right? So, we'll talk about this guy later. Aaron Rodgers. He didn't play until like his third or fourth year in the NFL. He was sitting behind Brett Favre, learning.
Well, that's what they say. The Green Bay does it right. Like they drafted Rodgers while Brett was still playing and eased him in. They drafted Love while Aaron was still playing and eased him into that role. But a lot of these a lot of these teams, they're in need of a quarterback and they're in need of a solution. Yeah, fast.
But you gotta think like Joe Burrow, for example. He came in and started right away, but Joe Burrow was a different animal. Like,
LSU, baby.
There you go. He was the Heisman and had probably one of the best quarterback years in college football. That's someone you understand to play. Bryce Young, he came in at a height disadvantage for the NFL. I think he's only like 5'10", so that's already a disadvantage. Although he was great in college, Bryce Young had a great college career. You have to understand that's a challenge that you have to overcome. A lot of quarterbacks don't make it at that size, and he's a smaller quarterback too. So hits from these bigger guys, stronger guys, that's gonna fuck you up. And then you can't even see over the line of scrimmage. So it's a learning curve. And like again, you throwing them people out there. Like I feel the Saints. I feel they gonna get fucked up. When Spencer Rattler had to go in last year, he didn't have the greatest experience. He got benched. Yeah. So. But going back to Jaxson Dart and Russell, again, I think the Giants are doing this the right way. Giants and Russell, I think Russell's going to teach him, because I think Russell knows like he's toward the end of his.
Yeah, but can I say something on that? Because you said something that kind of like didn't sit right with me. So you said the plan for the Giants and the Browns is that you're going to let the vets play themselves out of the starting position for the rookie season.
Whether it's by record or by injury.
Okay. Well, now the injury, I think, qualifies the same a little bit different, because I was going to say, let's pump the brakes and put some respect on Russell Wilson, who has had an outstanding NFL.
He has a great resume. I won't take that from him.
Like, for example, he's one of 5 quarterbacks with a passer rating of over 99. He holds the record for most wins by NFL quarterback through 9 seasons. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1.
Should have won both. That decision really wasn't on him. Yes. I would have ran the ball in, but
And so I feel like, and I wasn't fully watching into football at the time, so I'm not 100% up on like the ending of the Seahawks, and all I know is just the bad media perception of him at the Broncos. But it feels like people are quick to cast Russell out, and they're calling him old. He's only 36. I don't want to age myself, but he and I are close in age, right? And 36.
Closer than you think.
I don't know. I just feel it feels so disrespectful. And when did they play? Sunday or Saturday night against the Jets?
Yes.
And Russell played the first quarter, and he had a great moon ball. I think they scored off that pretty quickly. And one of the commentators were like, if he can't do anything else, the one thing he's going to do is throw a good moon ball. Yeah. And I just feel like people are pooping, because I'm not going to curse, are pooping on Russell. And I don't think he's not getting kind of that respect that he deserves based off his career play.
Listen, I get it. I would not have mind keeping him at quarterback, but the Steelers, we don't have the right coordinator for Russell. And I think Daboll, I think that system will work, especially with them having Malik Neighbors. They're going to be taking no shots.
Another LSU.
Yeah, another LSU Tiger. So they're going to be taking no shots. Yeah, I don't take anything away from Russell, because like again,
but the media does. They were plotting on his downfall last season.
The Broncos, to go back to the Broncos, if I'm getting traded to a team, or I'm not sure if he got traded or if he just had a free agency signing with them, but if I can get all of these additional things from an organization, I'm gonna take it, because what they're gonna do, they'll leave you high and dry. So why not get the office if I can get it? Why not? I don't.
Yeah, but then once he got to Pittsburgh, they were like, oh, he's going to be a prima donna over there, and Tomlin's going to have to like put him in check, and he's not approachable to his teammates, and they can't connect with him. And then when he started demonstrating that he had built relationships with his teammates, it was, oh no, this is so forced. He's just trying to prove to the public that he's not who he says he is.
His time in Denver, I think once Sean Payton got in and he seen that he didn't have the power because Russell already had that prior to him getting there. That's why they wanted to get rid of him. That's why they wanted him to sit out those last few games, or wanted him to lift his injury clause so if he got hurt, he wouldn't get paid. So,
and he said,
I wouldn't do that either. Because that there we go. What I'm saying, like the NFL or these teams or organizations will take from you, but when like him in that situation, I'm going to take everything I can from you. If y'all willing to sign me and pay me and give me all these amenities, why not? You know what I mean? Like it's the least. It's the least I can do. So,
all right. Well, let's move on to an NFL team that has not gotten it right with their rookies, starting their rookie quarterback, and it involves a former Giant, Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. And you have some great feelings about Daniel Jones.
It's the Daniel Jones.
Giants fans do not.
All the Giants. Lamar hate him. Kwame hate him. Every Giant fan I know hate Daniel Jones, and I don't understand why. I mean, I understand why, but y'all not looking at it in the totality.
Can I give some Daniel Jones career stats? So he was first round pick by the Giants, 6th overall in the 2019 draft. So I did not pull his college stats, but for you to be a first round pick, 6th overall, I'm going to assume you had yes, I do remember that. But I'm going to assume he had a decent college career.
Yes.
While in the NFL, he's played 70 games. He has 1,437 completions. I can't remember what his total attempts are. He has 14,582 passing yards, a completion rate of 64.1%, 70 touchdowns. He's been sacked 47 times. He has 47 interceptions. He's been sacked 208 times, but he has a passer rating of 84.3. So are his numbers really bad? Do his numbers accurately reflect his gameplay?
So what I'll say to that, does it accurately reflect his gameplay? I'd say it accurately reflect what was around him or surrounding him. So I've been having this battle with Giants fans all week on Daniel Jones and how I think he's going to have a much better year on the Colts because of the team that's surrounding him. So his rookie year at New York Giants, he came in to kind of, on the way of Eli Manning retiring out. So he came in halfway through that season. They didn't have the best record, but his passing stats that year, he threw 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, right? Okay. That coach gets fired. The Giants hire a special teams coordinator from the New England Patriots, and he fucked up that organization. He set them back a few years, right? So Odell's already gone by then. I don't think Odell was ever there when Daniel Jones was there. But the second year, I believe either Daniel Jones gets hurt midway through or Saquon gets hurt. So I think he only had 1 year with Saquon fully healthy or him fully healthy. So that's taken away one of probably your best offensive threat 2 out of the 3 years y'all played together. Then there was the 1 year he tore his ACL, so he missed significant time because of that. And then, when you come back off of ACL,
you're not the same.
It's not the same. So the year he got his contract, where people thought Saquon should got the contract, that following year he tore his ACL. So this past year that just came back is his first year back from ACL injuries. And they're wondering why he's not playing as well, he's not moving as well. Because before the ACL injury, he was able to use his legs, which made him a little bit more dangerous. So the year that they made it to the playoffs, which hadn't happened in a long time, I believe he threw around 20 touchdowns, but he also ran 6 or 7 touchdowns with 700 yards rushing on the ground. So you take that, at that time, his best receiver on the team, I believe, was Sterling Shepard. And if you ask,
I was just going to ask about him.
You ask anyone if Sterling Shepard is a number 1 receiver, they probably say, nah. He's probably a good 2, a 2B maybe. The year they made it to the playoffs, his leading receiver was a fellow by the name of Richie James, which a lot of people probably don't know who it is. That's how bad the roster was around the ball. It's like people say, "Oh, he's throwing terrible passes." One, they had a terrible offensive line, so you already got to fight that. Two, you don't have anyone to throw it to, and also Sterling Shepard tore his ACL or had like a major lower body injury that took him away. So your best receiver at some point, you didn't even get a full year with him. So it's a lot of woes for Daniel Jones.
Okay, so after all of that defending and justification for Daniel Jones, he was named the season, like starter for the season for the Colts.
Let's go.
Not just week 1.
Let's go.
Do you think he'll be able to maintain that status throughout?
As long as he don't get hurt, yes. I think he can.
Okay, so you don't think Anthony Richardson's going to see the field at all this season?
No, I don't think. They might try to utilize him in packages because I think Anthony Richardson is a better runner as a quarterback, but I think now that Daniel Jones has that year of removal from the injury, when he got traded to the Vikings, he didn't get any playtime, so that's more time for him to heal. So I think we might see someone you could possibly pick up a fantasy. Like, it might win you a week if your quarterback is out.
So by you saying that, you don't think that the Colts are using this as an opportunity to develop Richardson some more for long term? You think Daniel Jones is going to be the long-term solution for the Colts, and now Richardson, once his contract is up or becomes a free agent, he's on the chopping block?
If they see how, like, if, let's say hypothetically, we don't know if this is going to happen, but if Daniel Jones has a really good year, I think they ship off Anthony Richardson for pieces. Like, they'll try to get like draft stock, because I still think
Where would he go?
Saints. He could possibly work in the Saints, because I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just think he needs to be on the right team with like the right coach to like get him right. Like, because tapping out of a game, no one would have ever. A coach would have never like.
Yeah, but isn't he also like 23 or 20? Like, he's young and immature. So isn't that part of that? Which as an athlete, as a competitor, I agree. Like, that was wild that he did that. But isn't that also a sign of immaturity and a lack of player development?
Yes, but I also don't think his time in Florida, like, he didn't really show us that he was a great passer in Florida. He was just an athlete, and the development in the NFL is not where it is, so they never developed him.
Gotcha. All right, well, there were more that we wanted to talk about, but I think we're running up on time. So I just want to quickly highlight Aaron Rodgers, not a good guy. Boo. 2 stars.
Yeah, we don't have to talk. We've talked about him enough already in this season of Gridiron Bro.
Jameis Winston.
My guy.
He really is a good guy. His college off the field conduct, sketchy, maybe a sign of immaturity. But do you think he deserves to still do you still think he deserves to be punished from the sins of his past?
No. I think those sins from like what happened in college, I think he outgrew those. I think what people kind of tie him to now is the turnover issues, like the interceptions. So
no, I hear you, but on social media, people love to talk about, or when he's getting praises in the comments for his like funny videos and his personality, people in the comment section are bringing up his past.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yes, you gotta read the comment section. That's where I lurk and live.
Listen, I'm there to see Jameis in his natural state, which is a good time. He's going to have a great career outside of once he retires from football. He'll probably be an analyst somewhere, because who wouldn't want him, that personality on their TV? For
sure. All right. Quickly, my boy, who I will cape for, Sam Darnold. Everyone was waiting for him to turn back into a pumpkin from the princess that he was. He did not have the best performance in the playoffs, but he's now on a new team. He has graduated from the quarterback whisperer coach.
Kevin O'Connell?
Yes. What do you What's your prediction on Sam Darnold?
Well, I think this is going to be Sam Darnold's real test. I mean, I'm happy he got his money because he got a good contract
For
here,
sure.
but you don't got Justin Jefferson anymore. You don't have such a high-powered offense. I'm not sure how.
I don't know who he has.
I'm not sure. They have Jackson Nigma Smith from Ohio State.
Yeah, I know who
I
they're
don't know
about.
his. They got Cooper Cup.
Yes.
They got
That's what I was
Kenneth
blanking
Walker
on.
at running back. I feel like there's one more receiver, but I'm blanking. But I mean, I'm rooting for him. You know, he was one of those players who came out of college, was really thought to be able to change the franchise around. I think the time he got to the Jets was a bad time for them. It was wolf. He was seeing ghosts, as I always say, out there, and that might be scarier than tapping yourself out saying I'm tired. I don't know. I know he'd hate that that's on camera that he got caught saying that. But yeah, you know, he's been through the experience. So like after that, he went to the Panthers and then the 49ers, and then got his opportunity in Minnesota, which he proved himself. So again, let's say if he was being a backup all those years, he would never had to make those trips because he's still learning, developing, so on and so forth. But
So high hopes, yeah or nay? Will he turn the haters
I don't
around?
think he's going to have as a successful year as he did last year, but I still think he'll be like a top 10 quarterback, top 10, top 15.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
That wasn't too disrespectful.
I mean,
All right. We're going to talk about Gruden and Tomlin. There's so much to talk about for both of them. I think we just need to have a separate episode on the coaches.
yeah.
Because when I did my deep dive into John Gruden,
Wow.
child, and Tomlin, I think a whole episode could be devoted to Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, and the Steelers, but another day, another dollar. The truth is, we root for downfalls, but sometimes redemption arcs twist the story, and suddenly we're conflicted. And that's the sympathetic monster trope, the villain who just wanted to belong. And I think a lot of the players we discussed tonight are just players that just want to belong and want to keep that contract. Or it's the monster who just wants to win a playoff game. Maybe the Cowboys, but I think Jerry Jones's desires are in things other than football, winning, and championships. All right, let's take this off the field and into the film reel, because when we're talking polarizing masterminds, there's only one horror villain who comes close.
He doesn't wear pads. He builds traps.
It's time for our horror mirror. And tonight's villain, the one, the only, the incomparable. I was him for Halloween. John Kramer, Jigsaw, one of horror's most complicated villains.
Belichick with a pig mask.
He sees himself as moral, fans are split, genius with a purpose, or sadist with a god complex.
That's every polarizing NFL coach ever. Belichick, Peyton, even Gruden. Genius to some, toxic villains to others.
All right. So I want to set the scene. You are out with your mistress, I think, living life. You get into a car. You're drugged and banged in the head. You black out. You don't know that you've blacked out till you've waken up. It's bright, fluorescent lighting, a dingy, nasty bathroom floor, a bathroom that looks like it hasn't been cleaned in over 10 years. Your head is pounding. You're disoriented. What's going on? Where am I? Is that a dead body laying next to me? Am I chained up by one leg to a nasty toilet? And then you see a play me. You click it. And then you're given a riddle. The riddle that you must solve is breaking free from your chains. However, the only thing that you're holding on to, or that you can use to break free, is a rickety 50-year-old handsaw. Yes, folks, that is the opening scene to Saw 1. I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't want this to be boring about the movies. And there's like 57 Saw movies at this point when I feel like they should have stopped a while ago. But for those that you don't know, Saw is, I guess, would you label it like a slasher film? Thriller. It's suspense. But essentially, Jigsaw or John and his assistant, they kidnap people that are morally corrupt, but that he believes has an opportunity to turn things around. And they turn things around by going through a horrific process, which will force them to have an epiphany and want to change their ways. Why is he doing this? To save the world? No. It's because he had cancer, his life was torn upside down, and he went through a very traumatic process that changed his outlook on life. And so he wants other people to do the same. Hence the God complex. And so I'll start off by asking, is Jigsaw a violent, unredeemable serial killer? Or is he trying to do the Lord's work?
I think he is a serial killer. What was the first part you had? Unredeemable serial killer?
Yes.
I think he is an unredeemable serial killer, just on the basis that people died because they couldn't complete his puzzles or challenges. Like I get.
But they didn't complete the challenges because they didn't sacrifice. And part of the lesson is humbling and sacrificing yourself.
Who are you to tell me I have to make this sacrifice? Who are you to tell me I have to cut into my eye? I think that was one to get something out, yes. Or cut into. Who are you to tell me that? Now, if I bleed out, let's say if I, yeah, no, it's unredeemable. I mean, I get what he's trying to do, but putting it into a life or death situation was too far, which makes it unredeemable for him. Makes him an unredeemable character.
Okay. Who in the NFL, I'll open it up to players and coaches, who's a complicated, painted as a villain figure in the NFL? You can name more than one.
Complicated.
The media paints them out, or they're portrayed as a villain. But you peel back the layers, they're more complicated. As most villains, every good villain in literature is complicated. If you need a hint, I can throw one out.
For sure, throw one out for me.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, yes. I would say, and the crazy thing is, I feel like throughout most of Aaron Rodgers' career, he wasn't a villain. As he got older, and I think he started to feel, all right, I can't do this forever. That's when things started gravitating to him, where he's this prima donna. He's this, I gotta go to this retreat, blackout retreat, whatever.
The darkness.
I'm not vaccinated, but I'm immunized. Like, I think as he started getting older and later in his career and knowing and learning that his time in Green Bay was coming to an end, I think that's where there was like a shift and
well, because he was offended. He didn't want to pass the torch.
And I think he knew that was happening because he's been a part of that before.
Yes, he absolutely saw the heir in waiting, the heir apparent in waiting, and he threw a hissy fit because he wanted to be the main person. I think he's a narcissist.
You know who didn't let that happen to him? Oh, Thomas Brady. Because they tried to get Garoppolo. They tried to get a whole bunch of young boys. Nah, you better get them up.
Well, exactly. Rodgers tries to do what Brady did and has been unsuccessful.
Yeah, he wants to be Brady, I think, and
but hates to be compared.
Hates to be compared to him. But yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers was a good person to make that comparison to. I want to say Antonio Brown when he was in the NFL, but like as much as of a Steelers fan I am, and for me to say I haven't seen any of it, which is true leading up to the hit that he took, which we think just changed his life from Brissett from the Cincinnati Bengals. Other people on social media would say, "Oh no, this is who he was. He used to do this in college." But me personally, me following the Steelers, I never saw that until like later, like 7, 8 years into the league, and then once he left the Steelers, that's when shit just really went crazy. Where he left when he was in the Buccaneers with Tom Brady, where he left that game, took his shirt off, and started doing the little jumping jack shit, talking about Tom's wife. Like he just went off the rails. But yeah.
So you talked about with him how folks brought up, no, he was like that all the way back in college. So we've already talked about Jameis a little bit. For those that may be unfamiliar, Jameis was sued civilly for a sexual assault, false imprisonment, and I think like another just plain assault charge. He countersued, everything settled. And this was back in 2012 when he was still in college. Also, while he was in college, he was arrested for shoplifting crab legs and crawfish. But he completed 20 hours of community service. He did a diversion program. He stayed out of trouble, completed community service, and now the arrest goes away and he avoided a conviction on his record. People still bring up his pitfalls of when he was a young 20-something in college, and say that that's the real Jameis, not what we see today, this social media entertainment figure, this sports media darling who we cannot wait to be like an analyst on TV. In the context of being complicated like Jigsaw, how do you reconcile Jameis's image?
Are you saying like how does he fix it now? Or
No, I'm saying how do you put the two together? The bad behavior from college,
which is 10 plus years ago now,
to this cleaned up image we see today that many people don't believe is his true personality.
This is how I would answer that. If you take anyone's past history when they were between 18 and 22, I'm sure someone has done some shit that could have landed them in jail. Like whether they were the one doing something or around people that did some shit that could have got them caught up. So I get it. The sexual assault one, that's kind of severe. I don't condone that at any manner. But
well, the prosecutor did not pursue any charges, so there is a question about
the legitimacy of it.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say legitimacy of it because I don't want to
put the blame. I got you.
Yeah, to question a victim, but there's not the state didn't feel like there was enough evidence to prove a case criminally.
Gotcha. Regarding the crab leg situation, if NIL was a thing back then, he don't got to. I don't know what his circumstances was or why he did that, but those things are 10, 15 years ago 10 to 15 years ago at this point, right? We haven't heard anything nearly remotely close to those type of things since he's been in the NFL. All we've heard is that he wanted to play. Like, we get a bunch of clips of him doing crazy memeable things, like the eating the W's when he was on I think it was the Buccaneers, and then he did it again with the Saints. Again, I don't know how much more or what more he can do to try to clean up his image. To me, he's a model NFL athlete from what I see in the media and what he continues to show while he's out there playing football.
All right, so my last question for you. You talked about Aaron is really a good guy, but he's in the twilight of his career, and so he's just reaching to stay relevant, to continue to have power, to continue to play in the league. We talked about Jameis, and you said his poor behavior was over 10 years ago. We all do stupid things in college, but he's turned the leaf, and now he's a model NFL player. A common theme that you bring up is time and kind of where each player are in their personal lives and timeline in the NFL.
Yeah.
if Jigsaw did what he did in the first two movies and never kidnapped and forced people to play the game anymore and lived out his life as a cancer survivor, going to church, tithing, giving back to the poor, donating to cancer societies, living a godlike life. Is he now redeemable?
No. People died, babe. He was the cause of death for a lot of people.
Aaron Rodgers calls people to get fired. He calls people their livelihood.
Fire and dying. Two severe.
Being fired can feel like death to some people. That can put a family in hard times.
Who he got fired?
Saleh?
I think he got another job.
I mean, yeah, but he's not a head coach.
Listen, these NFL, don't get me wrong, I hate for someone to lose a job. He got paid out. He got that money. Like, they bought him out his contract.
I get that, but they're still... And Robert Saleh is a great coach, so sure, he was going to find another job, and he's now the defensive coordinator for San Francisco. But there exists a universe in which a coach can get fired and there is no job. We just watched it last night on the SEC documentary on Netflix. It was the coach of South Carolina that's was stressed out, and he needed to get a win because he knows his job's on the line because of his family. And college coaches get paid very, very well, and yet he was concerned about the livelihood of his family.
But you know what?
I know firing is not the same as death, but I'm saying that does have real life consequences.
At the same time, they gotta pay them out of their contract. Like they are still leaving with something to at least get them over to the. It's not like they're leaving with an empty bankroll. Those SEC, since you want to bring it up, they're making I think some of those coaches make more than NFL coaches.
Brian Kelly's payout is $60 million if LSU fires him.
Fire me. I want you to. Let me get paid and not have to do nothing. Like, have to yell at these kids and be in this heat. Crazy. Death, that's it. You don't got it tomorrow. You're done right there.
Okay, so no one can ever redeem themselves after murder.
No. Well, no. Not in the way he was doing it.
Even though it was for a moral high ground or a moral lesson.
I think there were other ways that he could have got that point across.
Fair.
There were other ways. I think there were other ways.
But would it be just as powerful?
Probably not.
As having to saw off.
But now you gotta have to deal with the guilt that you were the cause of someone else dying.
I don't know if he felt any guilt. Actually, I don't think he felt any guilt.
He wants redemption and forgiveness. Now he go.
I don't know if he really wants that.
Now 10 years later, he's tithing to the church. According to you.
First of all, and I know not everyone's not Christian, but in the Bible, God sees all sins the same. So a little white lie here is the same as murder in the Lord's eyes. So it's all about getting your life right and turning it around.
The same in the U.S. justice system. A little white lie can get you caught up too. You're right. Never mind. Let's move on.
All right. And like Saw sequels, NFL seasons keep coming. Some classic, some disasters, but we all show up for the next one anyway. Just like Jigsaw and his victims. Because deep down, we can't look away.
There we go. All right, we've survived Jigsaw's layers, but now comes the real horror.
Forget the bear traps. Forget the pig mask. We're talking fantasy nightmares.
Ooh. Fantasy draft day, the real saw trap.
Yikes. Every pick feels like sticking your hands in a mystery box, gold or gore.
Polarizing players, Aaron Rodgers, comeback sleeper, or fantasy corpse.
Calvin Ridley, the redemption story that might be a trapdoor.
And Jameis Williams, suspension risk or wide receiver lottery ticket.
And don't forget strategies. Hero running back, zero running back. Late quarterback, are they genius or are they just elaborate traps?
The key to winning in fantasy, especially the draft, is flexibility. In Saw and in fantasy, the ones who adapt survive.
All right. So the first player I want to ask you about, who I'm pretty inflexible on because he did me dirty last season, Deebo Samuels.
Deebo!
So he is no longer with the 49ers. He's now with the Commanders with the white hot QB who everyone has big expectations for. He's in a new offensive system. I can't even talk. How do you think he's going to do in this new system? Do you think he's going to be able to stay healthy this season?
So there's a lot to unpack about Deebo and how he can will be able to provide you any value in fantasy. One, availability is the best ability, so he has to be available, which has been a difficult task for him in the past. So if he can stay healthy, I think he can be productive in that offense because they like to use a lot of gadget players, which he is, and we've seen some of that in the last preseason game where they're giving him handoffs like he did in 49ers. Two, is Terry McLaurin resigning?
Well, so that was going to be my follow-up question. The front office gets it together. Terry McLaurin resigns. That's obvious. They're wide receiver one.
Yes.
Zach Ertz is still on the team too, right?
Yes.
And so you have those two who were pretty productive last season. Deebo can run the ball and not just be a wideout. Where does he fall in with the players that have already produced so well last season?
So I think, let's say, in a perfect world, they re-signed Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson, their running back, who's also heard that they're trying to trade away or he wants to get traded. Something going on with him. Let's say if he stays and feels comfortable, and he has a role like he did last year because he did pretty well last year.
Mm-hmm.
Receiving wise, Deebo still be two, but I think having Ertz will be. I think he's the security blanket for Jaden, like for short distance and shit. Tacky mushrooms. Terry McLaurin's obviously number one. If they can keep Brian Robinson, continue to do the run game, it just helps free up Deebo. Similar to.
So you think that that's a good pick? Because I feel like it's not worth it. There are other people. Because when are you going to draft Deebo?
He's going late. He's not an early pick. So how I compare him in that offense to him in the 49ers offense.
He was a key player.
He wasn't. Not really.
Not last season.
He was always the third option. He was never two.
But he was never two. But he could put up numbers. He put up numbers for them.
Because he was never two or one. That's why. I'm telling. When he was with the 49ers, when he had those great productive years, when he was healthy, Christian McCaffrey was number one.
Sure.
Kittle was two. And then there was instances where even Brandon Ayuk, who was flashing down the sideline, would open up underneath stuff for him. So it took a lot of that attention off of him. Also, what is it, Kyle Shanahan? Mm-hmm. He found multiple ways of getting him the ball outside of just passing the ball. So those things add into it. So it really depends on, one, who's going to be available for the Commanders this year, and two, how do they plan on incorporating Deebo. But I wouldn't pick him early. I think he's going like in round 10 at most.
So even with Washington's key offensive players back on the field, you still think Deebo is a decent pick?
Yep.
Okay. Next, one of your old boys. I think another player that's probably prickly and divisive in the league, George Pickens.
George Shiesty.
So my issue with George, is it fair to say he was wide receiver one at Pittsburgh?
Yes.
And now he's going to the Cowboys where he's going to be what, 2?
2.
Is he worth the pick?
Yes. I think this is he'll be a sneaky pick in the draft, depending on where you get him from. Because what a lot of people try to do in drafts, fantasy drafts specifically, is they'll try to find teams where they can find a clear number one. but in some cases, a 2 can put up more numbers than a 1. So like T. Higgins is an example where as a 2,
bless me well.
he's putting up more numbers than like the Saints number 1 did last year. Granted, they were hurt, but it's possible.
He put up better numbers than Garrett Wilson, who is wide receiver 1 for the Jets.
Exactly. So when you think about it, George Pickens and Dallas, when Dak is healthy, I did this research earlier. When Dak is healthy and plays the full year, he throws the ball around a little under 500 times a year, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And even last year, he only played 8 of the games. I think he already had through like 290. So he was already at that point of about to double his number if he would have played the full season. So I expect them to pass the ball a lot. I'm not too comfortable with who they brought in at running back. They brought in Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. So they're going to still have to try to figure that out. But I think they'll be leaning more on the passing. And I think while it's early, teams are still going to be leaning towards CeeDee Lamb as the one that they're recovering. So George Pickens will be getting a lot of attention. So if I can get him.
So hold on, let me ask it this way. In a 10-team league, when are you aiming or targeting George Pickens?
It depends. So when you ask that question, it really depends on what's available.
Or when do you think he's going to go? A 10-team fantasy league.
It depends on who's in your league. I say this because some players will draft quarterbacks super early, so that now throws
on average. And you've done a lot of mock drafts. When
like
is
seventh round?
Okay,
around the 7th round. So he's not going to be. You might be able to get him, or some people might reach to get him early on as a wide receiver 2, but I think he'll be like wide receiver 3 in most cases. Like
on your bench or the flex.
Or flex, yeah. But again, that varies depending on how. Like if people shoot at wide receivers early because it's a PPR league versus trying to target running backs, he might go sooner. You know what I mean? But if it's a half point per reception league, you might aim for a running back first because they might add more value because their ability to score more.
Gotcha. Next player on the list, who I think he's going to go in the first round anyway. It kind of pains me to talk about because he kept me alive most of the season last year, and he is a key piece on my home team. But Saquon Barkley. I'm already previewing that he's going to go early. This is not a late round pick, but I just want to throw out that last season he had 300 carries. He has a history of being injured, not being healthy, and being able to stay on the field. Last season was a career high for him, and I think in just about every stat category. Do you think coming off of such a high volume season and playing in the postseason all the way up to the end, so he's one of 2 teams that played the most out of everyone from the 2024-2025 season, is he worth that first round pick?
He's worth it. What I would say from past experiences, if you had him last year, don't get him this year.
Don't intend to.
That's happened to me before where I've had the top pick the year before and I try to get them the next year and then they have a tremendous decline, whether it be from injury or, something just happening where they're not just as productive. So me personally, I wouldn't get them if I had them last year. Also, there's been some changes to the offensive line in the Eagles, and then there's Landon Dickerson who got hurt, who may be missing some time.
I know. Well, they said that it's supposed to be like a quick surgery. It's not going to be that long. It's going to be a quick recovery.
It's a knee cleaning up his knee or something in his knee. It's still traumatic for an O-lineman to have knee injury. It's not just a quick bounce back.
But they have been trying to make improvements to the line because of attrition.
Well, I got to see it to believe it. So, I definitely don't think he possibly could if he stays healthy, but trying to replicate a 2,000-yard season again, it's just
So, quick, in or out on Saquon Barkley?
late first round in, early first round now.
Okay. Another player who had a career high season, Mr. Chase. He was the
down for me.
I can't even talk. The Triple Crown winner of the 2024 season. He was wide receiver 1 in fantasy last year. I know you have the exact stat, but historically, wide receivers coming off of a historic high year greatly declined that next year. But in a lot of the mock drafts that I've done and have watched, he's still going as like first round pick. Do you agree with that? Like he's going round one.
Yeah. He's definitely not going to make it out of round 1 for sure. If he does, if you're last in your fantasy league and he makes it to the round or pick 10,
take it.
You should win that fantasy league because you're drafting a bunch of idiots. But yeah, so that stat you was talking about, from previous years, I believe there was only one receiver who led fantasy the year before that only dropped within like a 10, 15 point drop off. Mm-hmm. In other cases, there were 100, 200 point drop off in fantasy, which is significant. Some of them were due to injuries. Some of them were due to just not being able to get the volume. So I had Chase last year. I'm going to try. He might. If I got the one pick, I might get him because he still got Joe Burrow throwing it. My only fear would be, God forbid, is an injury, which is kind of you can plan for.
So let me throw this out there, even though you kind of answered it, but in response to the historical trends of wide receivers after coming off a high, have a significant drop and decline in performance. During this preseason, I understand preseason is meaningless, but means everything. Joe has been throwing the ball a lot. Yeah. And is giving an indication that this season, as long as he stays healthy, his two guys stay healthy, it's going to be a high volume passing offense again. The Bengals also have not invested literally at all in their defense, which was one of the worst defenses in the league last year, and have not signed their best defensive player and one of the league's best pass rushers in the league. So the Bengals are going to have to be in a shootout pretty much to win games this year and to go with their delusional belief that they're going to make it to the playoffs. Even though the wide receivers have trend to go down, do you think, given the situation of the Bengals offense and lack of defense, that Jamar will be able to maintain high numbers?
I think he still has the capability of getting the high numbers, as high of numbers he did last year. Similar to Saquon, I don't think so, because he was just playing out of his mind last year, and it's hard to replicate those, especially back-to-back years. But I think he'll still be top 5 wide receiver.
That's fine. That's still good, right?
Yeah, I can't give him 1 because I don't know who was going to break out for real this year. But it could be him. I'm not taking it away from him, but I don't think he'll put up those same numbers. It'll be similar or close to it.
Gotcha. All right. Now it's time for me to stand on my soapbox because I have a bone to pick with the media, with sports fans that are not Eagles fans. Jalen Hurts. He's probably someone that we should have talked about in the first segment. He gets a lot of hate, a lot of doubt. And I, for the life of me, can't understand why. Last season, he had the most rushing touchdowns out of everyone, out of quarterbacks, out of running backs. He had more than Derrick Henry. He had more than, obviously, Saquon. Whoever your top stud running back is, Jalen was getting more yards and more touchdowns than that. He's literally, since starting, becoming the starter for the Eagles. He's been in two Super Bowls, won one, and has been in every playoff appearance. In college, when he was at Alabama, he helped lead the team to two NCAA national championships. They won one. I get that Tua played in that one, but he was part of leading the team there. When he goes to Oklahoma for his final year, he leads that team to a playoff. His passer rating is 93.5. Tell me why Jalen Hurts is not a good pick for fantasy and why he is not considered to be part of the top echelon of quarterbacks with Patrick, Lamar, Josh, and Joseph.
Well, fantasy-wise, he is a good quarterback to utilize because he's stealing all of those touchdowns from the one. So let's take away all those 1 yard touchdowns that he has.
Oh, that's another thing. And they still were unsuccessful in banning the tush push. So, and that's something him and his O-line do well. Better than everybody else.
I'm not a fan of it, but if it's available to use, why not use it? You know what I mean? So I can't say anything about that. But I feel like you comparing the touchdowns to like running backs and stuff. I think it's kind of unfair because he's not earning those touchdowns.
I got that stat from Fantasy Focus.
Yes, it's a real stat.
Yeah.
He did lead in rushing touchdowns. Wait, did he lead last year? I thought James Cook led with 16 touchdowns.
He led, I'm like 95% sure it was touchdowns. He led in something with rushing above all running backs and obviously quarterbacks.
It might have been rushing touchdowns. We'll look it up. We'll
insert later.
Yeah. But I think I put him up there. He's two Super Bowl appearances, one win. His play at quarterback was the reason that they made it and won. So I can't take that.
But the best compliment he gets is he's serviceable. And then when they won the Super Bowl, everyone hopped on stealing Sirianni's quote of he's just a winner. He's just a winner. They couldn't articulate why he was a good quarterback. All they could say was he's just a winner. And I get that the Eagles defense isn't a pass-heavy defense. He's not doing a lot of flashy throws like a Joe or like a Lamar. But he's literally been, if quarterbacks are supposed to be the most important position on the field, he's literally been in the key position and has taken his team to victories and to high level performance.
What I'll say, and I think that we can kind of compare those other quarterbacks outside of Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow's has been blessed with having T. Higgins and Chase. But the amount of pieces that, at least for the offensive side, that the Eagles have, so like the last 4 or 5 years, they've had one of the best, if not like a top 5 offensive line, which helps tremendously. They drafted the last wide receiver Heisman winner. Well, actually, Travis Hunter just won, so I can't take that. I can't. Before Devontae,
Devontae don't even get the ball like that.
He caught 80 catches last year.
I feel like
it don't seem like it.
I'm a Smitty stan, and it don't feel he does not get the ball enough for me.
He gets catches, not
enough.
So, the Eagles have a Heisman winner at wide receiver. They have one of the most athletic wide receivers in AJ Brown. Him and DK,
and he cries that he don't get the ball enough neither.
You still have these talent around him. You got Goddard, who's serviceable. He's serviceable, okay? But before y'all even got Saquon, y'all had DeAndre Swift, who was 1,000 yards.
I love me some Swift.
Y'all didn't even need to upgrade to Saquon. The upgrade to Saquon pushed y'all over the limit, but y'all didn't necessarily need to. I think y'all would have been fine without him. Y'all defenses was the reason why y'all really won it this year. With Zach Bond emerges for that cheap deal he was on. The rookie, Cooper DeJong, the corner, Quinshawn. I think on top of his
Jalen
Carter, on top of the success that he was having leading up to this past year, I think the defense and like the totality of the team also helps.
Yeah, but why do people always want to just give it to everyone else and never? He does not get credit.
So
or his credit is qualified.
So I'll say this, and again, this is outside. Shit, the camera died. This is outside. This is just audio now. This is outside of Jalen Joe Burrow because he had Chase and T Higgins. Pat Mahomes.
When he had Tyreek and when Travis was Travis, no one said, "Oh, well, it's because he has these two." But it's how great Patrick Mahomes is.
But I think they developed with each other. Like at least Kelsey did before Pat Mahomes got there. Travis Kelsey was on the team for a long time, and I feel like we've never really heard about him until
I heard about him when he did that dating show.
What dating show?
It was like Catching Kelsey or something like that.
When was this?
When he was in his black earlier.
I don't remember this.
That's how I found out about him.
Gotcha. But yeah, Tyreek Hill, he was like a 4th round pick. Like these weren't like people that were expected to be great, I guess you would say.
So Jalen gets faulted because we have good front office?
Yeah.
And good drafting?
That's pretty much what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Because the thing that they always say about Josh Allen, he doesn't really have a true wide receiver. When he got Stephon Diggs, they were good, but then it became a thing with diva at wide receiver type of thing. And
they're saying he plays better now that I was right. Catching Kelsey came out in 2016.
I did not know about that.
Yeah, it was on like maybe VH1 or something like that.
But yeah, I think that's the case. Like, let's say if he doesn't have, and I hate to be the one to say it, but like if he don't have the amount of talent as other players, is he going to be that good still? Like I hate putting those hypotheticals.
Well, then say that about Joe. No one says that about Joe. And I get Joe maybe Joe has a better passing arm, but no one says that about Joe.
You're right. And that's why I said I'm going to exclude Joe because he's in the same situation as him because they're already surrounded with offensive talent. I think the thing that's hurting Joe is they don't got no defense, and the Eagles was able to put together a cheap-ass defense that they didn't have to pay no one right now. But they're not going to be able to keep all these people on that team for
But what we do well is we pay early, unlike Mr. Jones, so we don't have to worry as much about the cap because we structure our contracts smarter and more appropriately.
Yeah.
All right. That was my soapbox on Jalen. I still feel unsatisfied by your responses. More justice for Jalen. He's probably low-key the real divisive or polarizing player.
Jalen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's Eagles fans love him and everyone else hate him.
Yeah.
Everybody else.
Well, I don't think everyone hates him. Everyone
finds an excuse.
Downplay is not the word. I'm blanking on words, but everyone thinks less of him compared to Eagles, except for when he has a bad game and he pisses us off. Well, we made it through the Polarizing Playbook, mostly in one piece. Time to close the coffin on this week's episode.
And that's it for episode 3. Polarizing players, sadistic masterminds, and fantasy traps that could save you or slay you. Sometimes the scariest part of football isn't the defense, is realizing, I'm not saying that because you're not going to talk about Daniel Jones, is that you drafted Anthony Richardson.
Thanks for tuning in to Gridiron Gore. If you like what you heard, drop us a review, share us with your crew, and follow us for more haunted huddles.
Until next time, keep your helmets tight, your cheat sheets handy, and your horror marathons cute.
Good night, and don't let the waiver wire bite.